Parashat Ki Tisa, Aliyah Harishona, the first Aliyah. Exodus chapter 30, verse 11 through verse 13. Why the ber? Why the ber? Adonai el Moshe lemur. This is one of the most common, I'm pretty sure the most common pasuk, the most common verse in the Torah. Why the ber Adonai el Moshe lemur. And we can see in this pasuk a principle that's important to remember with regard to correct pronunciation of the words. If you have an Aleph in the middle of a word, and there is no vowel above or below it, no vowel associated with this Aleph above or below it, then the Aleph is treated as if it's silent. As if it's silent. Although, when there is a vowel associated with an Aleph above or below it, the Aleph is supposed to make a sound which has no unique visual representation in most, if not all, European languages. We have the sound of Aleph in English. It's called a glottal stop. It's the sound that native English speakers usually make when a word ends with a T. So most native English speakers, when a word ends with a T, we don't usually pronounce the T as a T. We don't say it or he hit. We usually say he hit, or we went. We don't say went, we say went. And it's not that we don't pronounce the T. We pronounce it, but we pronounce it as a sound that is not actually a T. We're pronouncing it as a glottal stop. And that's the correct sound of Aleph, but that's only when there's a vowel above or below it. If there is no vowel above or below it, you read it as if the Aleph is not there. So instead of le'emor, if I said le'emor, that's two syllables, le'e, and that would require a vowel here, but there is none. So it's read lemor, as if the Aleph is not there. Here is Moshe. In a great many publications of Hebrew, if you have the letter Shin in a word, excuse me, in order to make or indicate that the Shin is a SH sound as opposed to a regular S sound, we put a dot on the right-hand side to let you know it's sh and not sa. But because the dot is on the right-hand side, and the Hebrew vowel that makes an O sound, is also on the top of a letter. You see, for example, here. So if we were to write a word where the vowel O comes immediately before a Shin, you'd have two dots very, very close to each other. So what they do is, if you have a word where there's an O vowel and then the letter Shin, basically the dot on the top right of the letter Shin doubles and fulfills two purposes. It fulfills a double purpose. It fulfills the purpose of indicating the O vowel, and also fulfills the purpose of indicating that it's a Shin and not a Sin. So no, it's not a typo that you don't see an extra dot here for Moshe, but rather the dot of the Shin is acting as the O vowel and also as the Sha indicator. So Moshe. Why the ber Adonai el Moshe lemur. Ki Tisa Rosh Bnei Israel. Ki Tisa Rosh Bnei Israel. Here you can hear the sound of the Aleph, the glottal stop. You should not say Yisrael or Yisrael, but Yisrael. The Aleph makes a sound, an abrupt distinction between the syllables. Yisrael and not Yisrael. Yisrael. Leaf, who, the, hem. Leaf, who, the, hem. Leaf, who, the, hem. Leaf, who, the, hem. Wanathanu. Wanathanu. Ish, kefer. Nafsho. Nafsho. Ladonoi. Of course, Adonai is not technically the pronunciation of the holiest name of God, Yud-He-Wah-He. We're not going to get into the reason for that, but in in all Jewish communities, except perhaps for a small number of Karaites, even the Samaritans, when they read the holiest name of Hashem, of God, in public, we substitute it. Even with Samaritans, it's something that Samaritans and Jews have in common. So it points to the very ancient origin, not simply a post-Second Temple tradition. It's even indicated in the Greek Septuagint, which predates the destruction of the temple by hundreds of years. However, this four-letter holiest name of God, although we read it as if it says Adonai, which means Lord, the first letter of Adonai is an Aleph, so you might think it should be read La Adonai, but when you read it with a prefix attached to it, such as the Lamed here, attached to the name, you do not want to pronounce the Aleph sound. So you're going to say La Adonai and not La Adonai. That's a common mistake. La Adonai. Yifqav. Perform. Yifqav. Perform. From the beginning. Ki Tisa Rosh B'nei Yisrael Lifqudehem. 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 You can see that this syllable should be accented as opposed to this syllable. Lifqudehem. Wanathanu Ish Kefa Nafsha Ladonoi, and not La'adonoi. Ladonoi. Bifqad Athom. Vela. Yeah. You know you accent this one because there's a method. This up and down line lets you know which syllable to accent. Yeah. Vohem. Neref. Neref. In addition to trope, this symbol that looks like a comma of sorts. So that's just one of many different symbols in the text of the Bible that signify cantillation, musical notation of sorts. And it's easy, if you're not so familiar with the text, to confuse it for a type of vowel, but it's not a vowel. The three dots here are a vowel, an eh sound, but this is not. However, it functions not only to indicate what sort of musical notation you may or may not make, but it also indicates, when it's not on the final syllable, it indicates which syllable to accent, which syllable's vowel should be slightly elongated, accented, made to stand out. So in that sense, although it serves a musical type function. It also serves a function similar to this up and down line over here, the method. Both can be used or are used to indicate which syllable, which part of a word should be accented. Naref, as opposed to neref. Naref. Bifrov, thumb. He, Tisa, Rush, Bnei Yisrael. Bifchudehem. وناثنوا إيش كافها نفشه لاذنوي بفقذ أثام ولا يهيا وهم ناغف بفقذ أثام. I'll read it one more time. You can pause and then try rereading it as many times as you need until it feels somewhat fluent in your mouth. כי תישא אש בני ישראל לפקודיהם ונאthנו איש כפר נפשה לאדוני לפקוד אותם ולא יהיה להם נגף לפקוד אותם. זה יתנו זה יתנו כל העובר על הפקודים מחסית. As we mentioned earlier, this up and down symbol called a method, it indicates which syllable to accent. It's the opposite of a Shawa, the two dots on top of each other here. Excuse me. So the method says you accent this one, and the two dots on top of each other, what we call a Shawa, tells you that either there is no vowel that belongs to the letter under which it appears, in which case you won't see a vowel like you do here. Or it can indicate the two dots here on top of each other, the Shawa. It could also indicate that, yes, although there is a vowel here, but the vowel is pronounced in a much shorter way than it normally would be. In other words, unaccented. It's there, but it's unaccented. The opposite of what a method says, which says accent, emphasize. So if these two, hypothetically, were both normal vowels, if this one had no method to say emphasize, and if this one had no Shawa to say under-emphasize, then you might read it mahasit, which is how people would normally say it, actually, although it's technically not correct. But because this says elongated, so it's not mahasit, it's mahasit. Notice this vowel, we're pronouncing it, but it's much shorter than normal. So not mahasit, not mahasit, but mahasit. Very short. Mahasit. الشاطر ما حصيف الشاطر بشاقل أقذش بشاقل أقذش ز يتنو ز يتنو كل عبر على التقويم مع حصيف الشاقل قذش 20 جرا الشاقل 20 جرا الشاقل مع حصيث الشاقل تروما لا ذنوي تروما لا ذنوي تروما لا ذنوي. Do one more time. زا يتنو كولها عبر على البقوذيم مع حصيث الشاقل بشاقل هقذش 20 جرا الشاقل مع حصيث الشاقل تروما لا ذنوي. That concludes the three pasukim, the first three verses of the first Aliyah of Parashat Ki Tisa.